What a young life.
He's the little boy whose disappearance gripped the nation.
A new lead in the disappearance of Etan Patz.
Etan Patz, little boy, it was just everywhere. It was just haunting. Many pictures I remember taking, including this one. But this just shows a happy kid with a future.
What would you do if your child walked out the door and never came home? No phone call, no goodbye, just silence. Have you ever trusted a safe neighborhood, only to realize danger doesn't always knock? Could you or your community handle a tragedy like this? Would you search every block, call out their name until your voice gave out? Could you endure the endless waiting, the silent phone, the ache of not knowing? Would you ever stop searching? This disappearance sparked the first milk-carton campaign and ignited a nationwide hunt that would span nearly for decades.
I hope he's with somebody wiser than he, who will take care of him, and is still taking care of him. And if he is, I don't want to hurt you in any way. I don't want to prosecute. I just want whoever you are to bring him home.
Who could not remember that face?
On a bright spring Friday morning, in Lower Manhattan in 1979, a 6-year-old boy steps out for his very first day of school and vanishes without a trace. By nightfall, his face was on every street corner. This shocking abduction didn't just rock New York City. It sparked America's first milk-carton campaign and ignited a nationwide manhunt that would span nearly 40 years. One child's disappearance stopped a nation and ignited a search that would change America forever. Tonight, we peel back the layers on Etan Patz's disappearance, from the frantic search on SoHo's cobblestones to the chilling confession that finally surfaced decades later. But there's one secret detail, tucked beneath the floorboards of a grocery store basement, that no one saw coming, and it changes everything. Stay with us until the very end to learn what finally brought this case out of the shadows. This is the story of Etan Patz, and tonight you'll witness how one family's relentless fight reshaped child safety laws. From grassroots activism to presidential recognition, their story reveals the power of hope and unity. Don't miss a moment of this journey and discover how you can help protect children everywhere together. Follow us as we trace every step of this family's fight, from neighborhood flyers to national legislation. You'll learn how determination and community pressure led to new safeguards for children everywhere. If you believe every missing child deserves a voice, hit like and subscribe right now to stand with us. Etan Patz entered the world on October 9, 1972, in Manhattan's SoHo neighborhood. His father, Stanley Patz, worked as a professional photographer whose darkroom spills and camera straps were a fixture of the brownstone he shared with his family. His mother, Julie Patz, managed the household with warmth and precision, overseeing everything from homework sessions to Sunday dinners. The Patzes lived among a mix of painters, sculptors, and small shop owners, where children chased each other through cobblestone alleys and neighbors greeted each other by name. Sunlight filtered through loft windows, casting long patterns on hardwood floors, and the chatter of block parties drifted up to their apartment. In that creative enclave, Etan's earliest memories were of colorful murals, music drifting from gallery openings, and the friendly shopkeeper who always had a lollipop ready.
Etan was this supposedly sweet, adoring kid who was just happy, and he was 6, begged his parents to go to the bus stop. They lived in a very family-oriented area of New York back then, SoHo. Everyone knew each other. He was walking, and he went out of view, and that was the last time they saw him.
From day one, he was surrounded by people who cared deeply for one another, establishing the strong bonds that would later fuel a citywide search when he vanished. Even as a toddler, Etan's boundless curiosity set him apart. He learned to ride a tricycle by the age of 3, pedaling furiously down the hallway, until Julie gently steered him back to safety. On weekends, he shadowed his father on photo errands, peering intently at developing images and delighting in the chemical smell of the darkroom. He loved climbing the cast-iron fire escapes carefully, under Stanley's watchful eye and greeting delivery workers from the ledge above. At neighborhood block parties, he challenged friends to races past storefronts, laughing all the way. When the local deli owner handed out tiny sodas, Etan savored each sip as though it were a rare treat. His laughter echoed off brick walls, and every day brought a new discovery. An unusual rock on the sidewalk, a hidden courtyard behind a gallery, or a friendly cat sunning itself on a stoop. That spirit of exploration made him a beloved figure on every block he roamed. In SoHo, community ties ran deep. Neighbors shared babysitting duties, watched over each other's homes, and rallied at the slightest sign of trouble. For Stanley and Julie, parenting meant more than providing food and shelter. It meant fostering a safe environment where Etan could flourish. Julie packed his lunch with care, notes tucked inside peanut butter sandwiches, and Stanley spent summer evenings teaching him photography basics in the park. Every morning, they walked him to the corner together, exchanging greetings with shopkeepers who knew his name. That collective vigilance and love defined Etan's world and became the foundation for the extraordinary outpouring of support when he disappeared. Sunlight streamed through the Patz brownstone windows as Etan bounded down the stairs, eager for his first day at PS 150. His new backpack adorned with a bright cartoon character felt like a trophy on his shoulders. Julie had packed his favorite sandwich and slipped a tiny note into his lunchbox. "Have the best day, my brave boy." After a quick photo in the entryway, Stanley walked him to blocks toward the bus stop, pointing out the flower stands and pausing to greet familiar shopkeepers. Neighbors waved from stoops, and Etan waved back, clutching his backpack straps with anticipation. He practiced his big boy manners, please and thank you, before Stanley knelt to tie his shoelaces. With a final hug and promise to pick him up that afternoon, they sent him on his way, unaware that those simple goodbye words would become so painfully final. A few yards from the bus stop, a passerby noticed Etan stoop to retie his left shoe, his small fingers fumbling at the knot. He straightened up, scanning the street as though searching for someone. A delivery truck rumbled past, diverting attention for a heartbeat, and, when the witness looked back, Etan was gone. No scream, no struggle. Just an empty sidewalk where a happy child had stood moments before. That fleeting glance, frozen in time, became the only clue in a mystery that would grip an entire city.
At 7:55 last Friday morning, Julie Patz says she took her son downstairs. She came back up and watched from this fire escape as he passed down West Broadway toward the bus stop, where a group of other children and parents were waiting. She never dreamed he didn't get on that bus, not until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, when he failed to return home.
By mid-morning, the school office reported no Etan. Worried, Stanley and Julie retraced their steps to the bus stop, calling his name until their voices cracked. Neighbors joined, scanning every corner of the block. When Stanley dialed 911, his hands trembled so badly the operator asked if he was injured. Through tears, Julie described Etan's green jacket and tiny backpack, pleading for officers to hurry. Within minutes, patrol cars surrounded the street. Julie clung to Stanley, her heart pounding, as they watched uniformed detectives spread out in every direction, evidence bags in hand. Their worst fear was unfolding in real time. Almost immediately, SoHo's tight community sprang into action. Shopkeepers shuttered doors to lend flashlights. Artists left gallery openings to join search lines. Parents organized neighbor-to-neighbor phone trees, urging everyone to check their buildings and backyards. Flyers bearing Etan's photo were printed at corner stores and plastered on lampposts. As afternoon turned to evening, the streets filled with volunteers calling his name into empty alleys. Stanley set up a makeshift command post in front of the brownstone, fielding frantic tips and distributing flyers by the dozen. Julie sat nearby, answering questions through sheer force of will, refusing to let hope slip away. With each passing hour, fear and determination intertwined because in that close-knit enclave, every adult felt the weight of responsibility for one missing child. Within hours of Etan's disappearance, volunteers fanned out across SoHo, plastering every surface with his photograph. Hand-typed flyers went up on telephone poles, color posters appeared in shop windows, and homemade billboards sprang up at subway entrances. Parents knocked on doors from Mulberry to 6th Avenue, asking residents to check basements, rooftops, and backyards. Local artists offered free printing services, churning out copies of Etan's smiling face on any flat surface they could find. By sundown, the neighborhood buzzed with urgency. Every corner seemed to echo his name, and every passerby felt drawn into the search. Stanley Patz realized early that traditional posters wouldn't reach beyond Manhattan. Drawing on years in the darkroom, he partnered with local dairies to print Etan's image on milk cartons bound for stores nationwide. Black and white portraits, each carefully cropped to highlight his wide eyes and hopeful grin, became a fixture in kitchens from Boston to Chicago. Customers paused in supermarket aisles, milk cartons in hand, studying the boy they'd never met. In just days, Etan's face was the most recognized image in America, transforming an everyday grocery item into a powerful plea for help. News outlets leapt on the milk carton campaign as a gripping human interest story. Television crews filmed shoppers scanning cartons. Newspapers ran feature articles on Etan's life. Radio hosts pleaded for tips on the air. Talk show guests debated the campaign's potential, and families nationwide began demanding similar efforts in their own communities. Congress held hearings on child abduction protocols, and parent-teacher associations formed neighborhood watch groups overnight. The idea of placing a missing child's image on consumer packaging was novel and emotional. Viewers felt compelled to act, flooding hotlines with leads, however tenuous. Retailers volunteered billboard space, and states began drafting coordinated response plans. In less than a week, what started as a local search had become a national movement demanding immediate reform. Etan Patz's case left an indelible mark on federal policy. 4 years after his disappearance, President Ronald Reagan signed a proclamation designating May 25 as National Missing Children's Day. The date honored Etan and thousands of others lost to abduction or unexplained vanishing. This annual observance encouraged communities to host awareness events, support affected families, and promote prevention strategies. Congress followed with the Missing Children Act of 1982, mandating the sharing of missing child information across state lines. In 1984, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children opened its doors, providing a centralized hub for investigations, training, and public outreach. Each year on May 25, candlelight vigils and educational programs pay tribute to Etan's legacy and reinforce the ongoing mission to protect America's youth. In the months and years that followed, detectives chased hundreds of tips. A witness claim in Queens prompted a week-long search of an abandoned building. Nothing emerged. A blurry photograph surfaced, showing a boy resembling Etan near the Brooklyn Bridge. It proved to be a false alarm. Officers interviewed dozens of suspects, including itinerant vendors and neighborhood visitors, but every thread unraveled into another dead end. As technology advanced, investigators tested old evidence for DNA matches and re-examined police reports with fresh eyes, yet the trail remained stubbornly cold. Each breakthrough promise faded, leaving the Patz family grappling with frustration. Despite the mounting disappointments, They maintained daily vigils at home, their walls lined with photocopies of Etan's photo and newspaper clippings, a constant reminder that this case still demanded answers. On May 25, 2001, exactly 22 years after Etan vanished, a New York court declared him legally dead in absentia. This decision gave Stanley and Julie heartbreaking closure on paper, but no relief in their hearts. The declaration allowed them to settle financial and legal affairs, closing bank accounts, transferring property, and establishing trusts to honor their son's memory. Yet, each completed form carried a weight they could scarcely bear. During the brief court hearing, Stanley placed a framed photo of Etan on the bench, and Julie sat with tears in her eyes as the judge read the decree. Their advocacy shifted from searching neighborhoods to preserving Etan's legacy, ensuring lawmakers and law enforcement never forgot the boy whose case sparked a revolution in child protection efforts. Even after the legal declaration, Stanley and Julie refused to step back. They attended every conference on missing child protocols, shared their story with community groups, and met with city officials to improve emergency response systems. Each anniversary of May 25 brought vigils, press interviews, and renewed calls for action. Their persistence kept Etan's name in the headlines and inspired other families to seek justice. For them, hope was not a fleeting emotion, but a steadfast commitment, proof that a single family's resolve could drive a nation to better protect its children. In early 2010, renewed hope arrived when the Manhattan District Attorney's Office teamed up with the FBI to apply cutting-edge forensic techniques to long-stored evidence. Handprints and fibers collected in 1979 were re-examined, while ground-penetrating radar mapped the basement beneath the local grocery store, Etan's last known sighting. Over several weeks, investigators removed floorboards and sifted through decades of debris, searching for anything that might link the case back to a suspect. Although the search turned up no physical remains, it yielded fresh leads and signaled a serious commitment to solving a tragedy that had eluded justice for more than 30 years. Attention soon focused on Pedro Hernandez, a deli clerk who worked evenings at the very grocery store near the Patz home. Born in New York, but raised in a large, tight-knit family, Hernandez struggled with social anxiety and occasional mood swings. He first came under scrutiny when a former co-worker recalled him mentioning a scary memory of a child who had wandered into the basement. Detectives interviewed Hernandez in mid-2011, noting inconsistencies in his statements about that evening in May 1979. He initially denied any involvement, but admitted he'd seen a child alone in the stairwell. Concerned about his erratic behavior, investigators secured a search warrant to examine his apartment for items that might connect him to Etan's disappearance. In early 2012, under carefully recorded questioning, Hernandez provided a detailed account. He said he saw Etan near the bus stop and offered him a soda as a friendly gesture, guiding him into the basement with a promise of privacy away from street noise. According to Hernandez, he led the boy down a narrow flight of stairs behind stacked crates, into a dim storage room. Once inside, Hernandez claimed panic overtook him. He incapacitated Etan and hid the body beneath loose floorboards. He accurately described the location of exposed wiring and a misplaced toolbox, details only someone familiar with the basement would know. Though no remains were found, these specifics convinced prosecutors that Hernandez's memories were not merely imagined. Drop a comment if you think justice delayed is justice denied, and share to spread awareness. Your voice can keep pressure on investigators and support families still seeking answers. The first trial began in early 2015. Despite Hernandez's confession, his defense highlighted his history of mental health struggles and argued that suggestive interrogation tactics had led him to fabricate details. Jurors grappled with competing narratives, A man's troubled psyche versus the precision of his account. After several days of deliberation, they were unable to agree on guilt, resulting in a mistrial. The outcome prompted debate over using retrospective confessions in cold cases and underscored the challenges of seeking justice decades after a crime. Undeterred by the mistrial, prosecutors prepared for a retrial, supplementing the case with forensic analyses of Hernandez's old clothing and digital reconstructions of the basement. In February 2017, nearly 40 years after Etan's disappearance, a new jury returned unanimous guilty verdicts on charges of second-degree murder and first-degree kidnapping. During sentencing, the judge noted Hernandez's vivid recollection of the basement's layout as critical evidence. Hernandez received a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 25 years, bringing a form of accountability that had long eluded the Patz family. For many, the conviction represented both the power and limits of perseverance in pursuing cold case justice. On March 10, 2017, Judge Robert Reed delivered Hernandez's sentence, life imprisonment with the possibility of parole after 25 years. In court, Stanley Patz rose to speak, his voice firm as he recounted decades of living every day with Etan's absence. Julie, seated beside him, clutched a framed photograph of their son, tears glistening yet determination evident in her eyes. They thanked prosecutors and investigators for refusing to let the case fade into memory. As the gavel fell, a hush settled over the gallery, then a single applause broke out, as if every person present recognized the weight of this moment. For the Patz family, the sentence did not bring back Etan, but it affirmed that their pursuit of truth had not been in vain. Even after the conviction, the Patz family's sorrow remained raw. Without Etan's remains, there was no grave to visit, no tangible marker of his childhood cut short. Yet, knowing Hernandez had been held accountable offered a measure of peace. Stanley and Julie channeled their grief into outreach, sharing their story at support groups and public events. Each step toward healing acknowledged their enduring loss, balanced by the knowledge that justice, though long delayed, had finally arrived. Etan's disappearance spurred critical legislation and institutions. The Missing Children Act of 1982 required federal agencies to coordinate information on abducted minors, closing gaps between states. 2 years later, Congress chartered the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, providing a dedicated resource for families, law enforcement, and media outreach. These milestones transformed how cases are handled. Alerts can now be issued nationwide within hours, and specialized teams work around the clock to recover children. Every May 25th, communities across America honor National Missing Children's Day, holding vigils, distributing updated posters, and hosting educational programs. Many states have also enacted Etan's Law, mandating rapid response protocols for missing minors and ensuring hospitals notify law enforcement immediately when an unattended child is brought to emergency care. Schools and child care facilities conduct drills simulating abduction scenarios to train staff. Etan's name lives on not only in ceremonies, but in everyday practices designed to safeguard young lives. If Etan's story moved you, subscribe and ring the bell so no child's voice goes unheard. Share this video to spread awareness of missing children protocols and honor every family fighting for answers. Together, we can build a safer future, one in which every child is seen, protected, and never forgotten. Etan Patz's story shows how a single community's dedication can spark national change. When neighbors, shopkeepers, and complete strangers united, their combined efforts kept a 6-year-old's memory alive and drove policymakers to act. From bushings and basements to state houses, their collective determination demonstrated that no barrier, geographic, bureaucratic, or cultural, can withstand persistent, caring people. This legacy reminds us that vigilance cannot rest on a few shoulders alone. It thrives when every individual lends their voice, their time, and their empathy to a cause bigger than themselves. You don't need a law degree or a megaphone to make a difference. Start by learning your local protocols for reporting missing children. Keep emergency numbers handy. Know your neighborhood. Watch contacts and share verified alerts on social media. Volunteer with organizations that support families in crisis, or offer to distribute flyers when a case arises. Even a small act of phone call or forwarded post, a moment of attention can break through silence and mobilize help. When we all commit to caring for the youngest among us, we build networks of safety that no predator can easily penetrate. Remember that bright Friday morning when 6-year-old Etan set out, full of hope for his very first school day, only to vanish from view moments later. His journey from an ordinary walk to a decades-long search transformed how America responds when a child goes missing. As you click away or return to your day, carry Etan's image in your mind, a reminder that any one of us could stand in his parents' shoes. Let their unwavering resolve inspire your own, because protecting children is not just a task for a few, but a shared responsibility that defines who we are.